What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 34. Yes, 34 of my journey as a startup founder. I'm building my own little AI native search engine from scratch. Think of it like Perplexity, but built by a one-person company. And I have no funding, and I don't want funding. And I quit Google a couple of years back to start this. And I've said it again and again. It's been the best decision of my life. And I can't wait to show you guys the demo. Very close, April. I've been saying it for a few weeks now. April next month is when I want to show you guys the branding and the demo. Right now, there are a bunch of fixes going on. And I'll keep doing this. I want to build this product in the open. And so I'll keep doing this, keep sharing my journey, keep sharing my learnings. And I don't think many people watch this, but I do this honestly for my future self. And maybe in the future, someone will come stop by and see some of these videos. And they may be fun to watch in the future. So today, episode 34, I'm going to talk about AI coding. So obviously, AI coding has been a huge help for me. I can't say I'm building this platform completely vibe coding. I don't think you can build completely from just vibe coding, but it has been a huge help. And one of the big reasons I've been able to do this and come this far, building this basically an AI search platform as a one-person company alone in my little prison cell room. Um, and so I want to talk a little bit about it. So this is part 5 of me talking about AI coding with LLMs. I've done a few other sessions in the past. Today, I'm going to talk about Claude, Opus versus Codex. Just those two LLMs. Those are the two LLMs I use consistently. I don't use Gemini. I mean, I have Gemini in the sense I use anti-gravity as the IDE last few weeks, and so it has nice Gemini integration and I can use it. But the problem I've always had with Gemini for the past several months is that Gemini gives up too easily, jumps into sort of conclusion quickly, and just not as good as on researching the code base and researching online as Codex and Claude. It's just a fact. And it's every time. I don't think it's like an anomaly. I've tried it 25, 30, 40, 50 times. I don't know how many. And every time this is the case. So if you have a large code base, which I do, with the front end, back end, an entire query processing pipeline, and dealing with AI models, it's been very tricky to work with Gemini. I don't know what's the problem with the Gemini team. Like, or maybe I don't know. I just can't tell. It's very good at one shot and two shot prompting, and it writes good code. That's why it does very good in testing. But in real world testing on large code base with very intricate issues, oh my God, Claude Code, boom. It's like Muhammad Ali versus the rest. So that's Gemini. But Codex is getting better and better and better. And I use Codex, just to be perfectly clear, right now I'm on Claude Code, what model it is. I believe it's on the latest. I'm on version, um, I actually can't tell right now looking at the screen, but I'm on the latest version. I want to say 4.6, and I'm using high thinking, Opus high thinking. There's also max thinking, but it uses a lot of tokens. So I use high, and this is also using the 1 million context window. So recently Cloud Code made that default on Pro plans, I believe, and maybe other plans also, I don't know, but I'm on the Pro plan or the Max plan. So 1 million context window, Cloud Code Opus, 4.6, I believe, high thinking, not max thinking. And then I use Codex, extra high thinking, latest version for, again, 4 point something, I don't know, 4.6 or something like that. They both are similar in that, or 5 point something Codex. But anyway, latest as of today, because I updated this morning. And I want to talk about sort of the difference. And this right off the bat, let me talk about what you're looking at the screen. So I have a bug in Markdown rendering. So obviously I use AI to synthesize a lot of research that my tool does, because it's a search app. So it searches the web, uses API and all that, and puts it all together. In a nutshell, obviously there's a lot more going on than just kind of calling APIs and putting it together. There's personalization, there's a tone that the user wants. There's different ways to break down the problem, a lot of things. But for this discussion, think of it that I call a bunch of APIs and then put it together via LLM, synthesize it. And I have a bug when I put it together and output as markdown so that my web front end renders markdown. I have a bug where sometimes it just truncates. So if there's a response of, say, 600 characters, it only renders the first 100 characters and then stops. So that was one bug. And the second bug was I build a response in a streaming fashion, and sometimes I inject more sort of markdown along as it's streaming because just how data arrives from the different web APIs or different processing pipelines that I have going on. But long story short, it's like what I see is part of the response is rendered, marked down to HTML correctly, and part of the response I just see markdown, raw text. So these were two bugs. The I mean, if again I didn't have this AI tool, I would have spent a day, 2 days just to figure out what's going on. Honestly, even after 2 days, it'd be very tough. So obviously, I gave the challenge to Claude and Codex, and actually not surprisingly at all, Claude was quicker. So right now, let me show you. This is Claude, and it came up with a bunch of problems. This is one of the interesting problems it found. And let me switch to the screen. This is Codex. And what I want to show you is that Codex went through compaction and it took a very long time. I think it just got finished. It just got finished, but it took a very, very long time. And on top of that, look how detailed Claude came up with. So it came up, they say this is root cause number two, because root cause number one's something unrelated. I didn't want to show it. But root cause number two, it's very clearly said. Here, I think here the query is best cafe in Japan, in Tokyo, Japan. That's the query. And so here it says stream down something parses markdown, and then no blank line after figure. The smoking gun, depth markers already knows something. And then what is it? No new line characters. Okay. Oops, sorry. So basically what he's saying, the ones that start HTML blocks are these. So they have start tag and end tag. The code, which is a TypeScript file, image markers, generates the start without the new line before and after. This causes the HTML block to swallow subsequent markdown contents. I see, because it treats it as markdown. It treats it as HTML because it's in that figure block. Very subtle. Can you believe that? And then there's some contributing factors, blah, 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 stream down. Look at all this, how well it described it. And then it referenced, so I had asked it also look at linear tickets, like past, because I've done, I recently migrated to stream down from React Markdown. I was using React Markdown component. Stream down turned out to be much better. I was having many problems with React as well. And this seemed like the tool, which again, using Cloud Code, I found out is the better tool. And so I went through a migration. And so I asked it, go through the notes of that migration. We recently went and maybe there's some clues. And sure enough, it found some other things that we had all these phases planned for the migration. We only completed phase one. This is sometimes a problem where I have more than 1 or 2 sessions going on, and I'm a one-person company working on the back. I want to say 80% of the time, 90% of the time, I'm working on the back end, the query processing. Front end, I honestly don't. The most of the engineering is on the back end, so I don't spend that much time on front end. And this shows that I had a previous migration going on, and I completed phase one, and I never completed phase two. I probably have a terminal window open. By the way, speaking of terminal window open, I don't even use IDs anymore. I just use terminal and Sublime. I now use anti-gravity because I get Gemini integration. That's one LLM I don't use on a day-to-day basis. I can take advantage of it, and I have some free Coda because I'm a Gemini Pro subscriber. So anyways, but it's amazing how it found that Vishal, you never completed phase two and phase three. It's so funny. It found the linear ticket VSL 1252. So that's awesome. And Claude, Codex didn't do this. and then it found some other things. And this, but some of this, if you want to know, I can help out. Some of it is this it's doing in this way because of the prompt. I have a very sort of extensive prompt that I've kind of improved over the last year, a year and a half. And so in the prompt, I always have like show me before, after, and things like that. And so that's why it's doing this, but it's incredible. I do the same thing for Codex, the same prompt. Codex does before, after, but no comparison. And here it said before Python, blah, 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 truncated. After the fixes, it will show the full thing. Coffee shop image, and then raw markdown. And then, so those were the two bugs I talked about. One was raw markdown, and the second was truncating. And with this, apparently, according to Claude, will fix both of them. This is so, and then it came up with a plan. And again, this is from my prompt. It came up with options, option A. And I always say, when you come up with option, give me some time estimate, and also pros and cons of every. This, by the way, I learned at Google and other tech companies I've worked at. When we used to write docs, we would always have, because a lot of these docs were presentations to executives. And so it always like the secret sort of way to do great the presentations or document reviews with at Google was you have a bunch of options, come up with pros and cons, and share your recommendation, and have diagrams and have backing in data. And here we have everything. And I've done nothing for this root cause analysis. It's done completely from Cloud Code. It has replaced me and engineers, and will continue to do so. I mean, if you're a software engineer, I feel I'll do a dedicated video on this, but I believe the most important skill going forward will not be coding. Obviously, I'm not the first one to say this, but I believe no one has said this. I may be the first to say this. The most important skill will be software architecture. If you can see 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 feet view, and then zoom in and then zoom out, you have that architect mindset, we have systems view mindset, that floodlight thinking versus like a focus thinking, you'll benefit. In other words, people like me who are more generalists uh, uh, will greatly benefit in this new era we're entering. Versus if you are comfortable with a narrow focus and going deep, I mean, that's fine. AI coding will help you. But if you want to build one person company like me, you have to work on all layers, and you need that kind of thinking. Also, I believe you'll thrive more if you're able to think higher level, because a lot of details are now taken care by Claude and Codex and tools like this. So, and I've been I was chief software architect at ask.com, Ask Jeeves, and for several years. And I always loved architecture. Um, and I naturally kind of can zoom in, zoom out very easily. It's very natural for me. People used to tell me, and I guess I'm benefiting from it. So anyway, came up with all these options, option A, option B, pros and cons. And also in option B, look at how it's structured. Option B is everything in option A plus fix 4, fix 5, fix 6, and what it is, and what's the risk associated with that risk, and then how long it'll take. And option C, everything in option B plus. And then always I say, give me a recommendation based on what you know of my values. So I also share in the problem my values, my tenets, so it knows, and it recommended that, hey, I recommend option A plus fix B from option C. Not everything. So it's very interesting. Don't do all of option C. Just do option A, all of this option A, skip option B, and just do fix B, fix 8, I'm sorry, not B. Fix 8 from option C, which is comprehensive stream down integration. So write tests, have a great test suite, which is insane. Now, I chose option C, to be perfectly honest, because I think this is the touch point for the user. I want to make sure rendering is rock solid. And I can say, I mean, I understand it, but I can say in detail some of these things, like full text chunking with post translation. Fix 4, I don't know. I mean, I have to learn more. I have to read the code more to kind of really understand, but I thought it seemed important. And so I told it to option C. As in, I want to invest more time. This is like markdown rendering is so important for me. I want to do the right thing. And because it had in option B, in option C, it also had add a final, ensure sub HTML blah blah separation, and find regex, etc. Just clean up things like that. So all of this, and then files to change. These are all the files it has to change. By the way, I'm on V6 architecture, but I haven't renamed the folders on V5. But I mentioned in the previous session that this is the sixth architecture I'm on. I built first version of the AI search engine, delete, threw it off. Second version, threw it off. Third, fourth, the sixth version. Then I'm happy with it. And then this is all Claude. Codex, it's good. It comes up with this codex. It's very weak in kind of expressing its thinking. That's all the thinking it did. And then it had to go through compaction. And then again, did some more compaction, did some more. They made a plan. But the final presentation is this, which is okay. Findings. It found something and authpath, but nowhere close to what Claude did and how it came up with options. And even though I'm using the same prompt, by the way, I didn't use a different prompt. So, and what you don't see here is that um, um, Claude took, I want to say, 10, 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. Codex took twice, almost half an hour. Much, much longer. Much longer. It doesn't show its thinking also very well. And I've set the right settings to show all your thinking, what a verbosity or something. And it just doesn't, it just can't get to the level of detail in terms of presenting what it's thinking and presenting what I found and presenting options to me that I requested. And here I haven't spent enough time looking at now the contents, but from previous experience, Claude found more detailed nuances than Codex almost every time. I will say one downside of Claude that I notice every time is, okay, maybe not every time, but consistently, is that Codex sometimes it's slow, but I feel it's more detail oriented in certain tasks. In coding, I've given the same task to Claude and Codex has been much more detail oriented in the nuances. It kind of thinks more in the smallest things. And Claude, especially when I'm thinking about, look at the rest of the code base, because I have a big code base. Don't just look at immediate files around what the current coding session is. And it does a great job. But Claude sometimes has a little bit of a narrow vision. And then I will say, hey, Codex found this, you didn't. And it's like, oh, yeah, my bad, I'm sorry. And then it does a search, and sure enough, it finds it. So it's hard for me to say, like, because of that, I end up using both. For important things like this root cause analysis, I asked both of them. So I get what Claude found, what Codex found, and then I can make sure yeah, we don't miss anything. Because if Claude missed, Codex will catch it. If Codex missed, Claude catches it generally. If they both miss, maybe it's not that important. Or I can always ask them to try again with more context, more information, more screenshots. So that's in a nutshell today's session. I end up using both because none of them are perfect, but if you had to pick one, there's just no option to that other than Claude Code. And Gemini is not even in the competition. Oh my God. And then there's GLM and a few other models which are okay, but I'm talking about real world usage as a one-person company founder building a gigantic product like a, basically a perplexity, baby perplexity. And my query processing pipeline is quite involved. It's not small. And the code base is quite large. Claude Code is just hands-on, beats the pants out of all tools consistently. Only downside is it has this narrow vision. It fails to do, and so sometimes I explicitly say, go scan the code base first and then proceed. It just misses at the periphery consistently. And Codex surprisingly finds things at the periphery too, but it's so much slower, not good at sharing its thinking at all. And not good at presenting the findings like Claude. Claude is just perfect. It's just so, maybe it was because before Claude Code was a thing, Anthropic spent a lot of time in document creation, document authoring, spreadsheet authoring, because Anthropic from day one prioritized business customers and what businesses want. And businesses want document editing, document understanding, document authoring. So it trained the training and the focus of post training and human reinforcement was so much around writing documents, authoring content, different way of structuring content. I bet, I don't know this for sure, but it shows. The proof is in the pudding. Versus, I think Gemini and OpenAI, they've been focused too much on being general purpose for everything, for everyone. And they've done a good job. I mean, they're great tools. They are general purpose tools. But because of, in my opinion, Anthropic's focus on business customers, they were able to jump on coding first. Not first, but they definitely were investing more than others, clearly. Even today, the Cloud Code, the tooling also around Cloud Code is so sophisticated. People don't realize, I don't know if OpenAI realizes, it's not just the model, how good it is. It's the tooling around it. People like me, we appreciate the tooling. And Cloud Code, they consistently, now they've added a remote launch view. So from my phone, I can start a session on my computer and interact with on my computer. This is amazing. I'm a one-person company. I can leave my MacBook on, connected, and then I can go out for a walk. And while I'm walking, I can ask some questions, do root cause analysis, and when I come back home, look at the analysis and come up with next steps. This is fantastic. This is all tooling. This is not the model. This is tooling around the model. So Cloud Code, because of its emphasis, Anthropic's emphasis on business customers from get-go, they greatly benefited from having good content authoring capabilities in their models, and then they knew the value of tooling, because I'm sure when they interact with business customers, business customers will always request better tooling, more tooling, and it benefited. And now they are so much ahead in the game, so much ahead in the game. Yeah, use Cloud Code, but if you use Cloud Code, keep in my opinion, watch out for just the peripheral content and data which Claude misses, and you have to kind of remind it, and like sure enough, like, oh, I'm sorry, oh yeah, and then it will pick it up. So that's kind of a little bit of a weakness that bothers me, and it's a little surprising to me why that's the case. But then again, maybe you can't have one model that's just truly perfect at everything. I don't know. And Codex is so much good at peripheral content, but so bad at presentation. And also so slow. Now, keep in mind, I'm using high thinking for Claude and extra high thinking for Codex. So I recognize I'm saying think extra high, but still, it's very slow, very, very slow, um, frustratingly slow. So I hope OpenAI does something, something about Codex. It needs to understand its content authoring and content presentation, and it needs to do more to share its thinking. The way I'm successful in using these tools is I read all the thinking, or at least glance at it. And I have a tool on my Mac called Rewrite AI, or Rewrite Bar. So I'll just select all its thinking and say summarize, and I summarize. So if I don't read all the thinking, I'll summarize. I'll read the summary. So I need thinking, but Codex, no, it just snippets of thinking it puts out. Maybe because they think people will copy, reverse engineer its models. So it's a shame for OpenAI. But for me, both tools, I use both of them. They're both valuable. And yeah, I couldn't have reached this far without them. And I can't wait to show this thing to everyone. And I dream about how I will announce or talk about it. And obviously, I don't have the budget to do any marketing. And I don't have a big network. People don't know me. So I don't even know how. I'll just put a video or something. I don't know. I don't know how to even put the word out. I have no idea. I have to think. I'll ask Claude. How about that? I'll ask Claude and Codex. So that's it for today. Um, Today was just Claude versus Codex. Gemini not even in the picture for me. Yeah, I think I they're great tools. In the future, let's see, next session, I'll be talking more about the backend query processing architecture, I think. Uh, until then, see ya.